Alright, now we are going to work with preparing our top waistband edge for the casing and our ties for that as well. So I need to first begin to press up 1/4 of an inch. Let me move that into frame here. 1/4 of an inch all the way around the top edge. Let me just get a section of it going. If you have your steam on, be careful, that steam can be very hot to the fingertips. In fact, I'm going to turn mine off. It's very dangerous. Steam can burn worse than sometimes touching the iron. Go ahead and give it a nice crisp press along that edge. You would actually press all the way around the entire waistband, 1/4 of an inch. Then you turn up 1 more inch. You can use your seam guide or even one of your graphing ruler to see that you've got 1 inch turned up. And then again, a nice press for that. These just make it easier for it all to stay in place at the sewing machine. The accurate measurements and folds right here are very important, and then if you need to, you can go ahead and put some pins along there for you to sew. Okay, remember, as you sew, the garment would stay to your left, and then you would want the shorter distance to the right of the needle. We would stitch here. You want to stitch, I started center back and leaving an opening. So I would stitch around, leave some opening in order to be able to insert our elastic and drawstring. So I will be showing you that next step here pretty soon. But the other thing that you can prepare while you're at the ironing board right now before you go sit down are the ties. And I've got one done, but let me show you how to go ahead and prepare these. I find because this fabric is a little bit thicker, it's actually easier to go ahead and press under 1/4 of an inch down one edge. Again, beware, your iron can be very hot, and you would press that the entire length of the long edge here. Then you would come back and press another 1/4 of an inch. They don't quite meet in the middle. You don't really want that much bulk. Stay at 1/4 of an inch on each edge. And again, you would carry this down all the way the length of the tie. Just shortening it for video purposes. Now then, here you would bring the two folded edges together like so. There we go. Careful, the ties and the ironing board are very hot at this point, so you might give it a second or two to cool down before you want to handle it again. And you just want to keep these folded edges in line. And again, you would continue that all the way down the to the end. Now, it helps to kind of have that pressed before you go to the sewing machine. You will be stitching close to this folded edge. An edge stitch, which is about 1/8 of an inch away, which is what I have on this piece here. And I have gone ahead and stitched all the way down the length of one whole piece. That'll be a drawstring for the left side and then one for the right side. So go ahead and get those prepared before you finish watching the rest of the video for the next step. Okay, here's our last step to completing the casing around the top waistband of your shorts. You have already pressed under 1/4 inch and then another 1 inch, and then this is center back. I start stitching over here very close to my folded edge on the inside all the way around, and then stopping to leave probably about 2 or 3 inches open here in the back, and that will allow us to insert our elastic and drawstrings. I've already secured my drawstring to my elastic right here. Just overlap the ends and stitch back and forth to secure that real tightly. And then you want to make sure that you use elastic that is going to fit inside your casing, and you can see that from your stitching edge up to your folded edge. All right, if your stitching is narrower, than what the width of the elastic is, you'll never get the elastic to slide in there. So you need to go around and check your shorts all the way around that you have enough space in your casing to allow the elastic to pass through. Now then, here is a very handy tool you're going to need. Hopefully you've got one around the house. A safety pin. The larger, the easier it is to hold on to. Now go ahead and take that pin into one of your drawstrings. Not right at the edge, it may come undone, so you want to do that. If you've ever lost a drawstring in the laundry, this is one way you can put it back in if you hadn't already learned this trick from a grandmother or mom. Okay, and what the safety pin is metal on the end so that it slides through pretty good, as well as it gives you something to grip. If you use a really small one, you sometimes have the tendency to unhook this safety pin. Now then, when you get to some areas where you may experience some seam allowances, remember we basted those down so that we didn't get caught underneath them, but you may have to punch down the casing to kind of make it more of an open hole, and then it will get a little tougher to pull things through this end here. But we only have to do 2 halves of this, one up this way, and then when we get to center front, which we are nearing right now, we will be able to pull the drawstring out through that opening we left in center front seam. And here we are arriving there, and can you see the safety pin coming right out? And I can pull that on in through that casing. Now here's where the elastic wants to get caught up, so you have to sort of feed it in. Oops. Let me get it in there. Okay, there we go. Once you kind of get that going, it's a little easier to feed that on into your casing. There we go. Not too far. I usually like to bring it to about my side seam right here. Now I will finish up with taking my safety pin to the other end of my drawstring and come this direction through my shorts. At this point I have fed the other half of my drawstring and elastic through the other side of my shorts. I've got both of them out to this end. Now that they have passed through the casing, I can go ahead and tie off a knot on the end of each of these, and that kind of allows to keep them from hopefully pulling back in through this little spot. If you want to get fancy and add a bead on there, you can. You can also turn this back and just stitch it down. However you want to finish off your drawstrings, you can, but that'll work for that. Now then, the last little section you left open over here, you'd go and set this underneath this machine and stitch, again, very close to your folded edge to close that up. Once you've got that closed up, then you can begin to pull some more here on your drawstrings and have that back gather up over your elastic. And what I like to do, just to kind of add to the short staying very gathered at the side seams, as long as that elastic is right past this seam line, I'll stitch right through both layers here so that I secure the elastic from side seam to side seam. Then that way in the back of the shorts it pulls like this. Then in the front of the shorts, when the person wears them, they can just bunch it up and drawstring it. But this allows you to see how elastic is inserted into a casing. You have options here. You could do elastic the entire way around.